Welcome to the Thrifty Tips Podcast. Today we're diving deep into a topic that's close to all of our hearts, eggs.
Yes.
Specifically, how to get a steady supply of fresh eggs all year round.
Right.
And we're going to be taking some inspiration from some experts on this.
Okay.
The Amish cooeys.
Fascinating.
So we found this incredible video on YouTube by the Frugal Solutions channel. And it just blew my mind, some of the insights that these Amish farmers have about getting eggs year-round.
It's amazing what you can learn from folks who've been doing this for generations.
It really is like they've cracked the code on Chicken Zen or something.
Absolutely.
So one of the things that the video really emphasizes is the importance of diet.
Makes sense, right?
You are what you eat, or in this case...
Your chickens are what they eat.
Exactly. So I think there's this misconception that you can just kind of throw any old thing at your chickens.
Yeah.
And they'll lay eggs.
A lot of people think just tossing some scratch grains their way is enough.
Right. Just a big bowl of corn and they're good to go.
But it's not that simple.
No, it's not.
In fact, the video talks about how overdoing it on carbs, especially from things like corn or bread scraps,
Oh, interesting.
can actually lead to overweight chickens.
Really?
Yeah, and less active chickens, which isn't good for egg production.
It's like feeding a marathon runner a diet of donuts, right?
Exactly.
You might get a little burst of energy, but
But they won't have the stamina for the long haul.
no, and they won't be getting the nutrients they need
Yeah.
to perform at their best.
Precisely.
Now, if you're finding these tips helpful, don't forget to like and subscribe to the Thrifty Tips Podcast for more excellent advice like this. So we're talking about diet being so crucial for getting those eggs year-round.
Absolutely.
What exactly should we be feeding our chickens?
Well, the Amish really understand that chickens need a balanced diet with the right amount of protein to actually make those eggshells and yolks.
Okay.
And they're constantly adjusting the feed throughout the year based on the hen's needs.
So it's not just a one-size-fits-all approach.
Not at all. For example, during molting season,
When they're growing new feathers.
exactly, they'll bump up the protein using things like mealworms or black soldier fly larvae.
Well, those are good sources of protein.
They are, and the chickens love them.
Now, that's interesting.
It's all about giving them the building blocks they need for those beautiful eggs.
It makes you realize how much goes into producing an egg.
It's more than just a simple process.
And the Amish really seem to have mastered it.
They have, and they don't stop there.
Okay.
The video even showed how they use natural supplements to give their flock an extra edge.
Oh, like what?
Things like apple cider vinegar, which helps with digestion, and garlic, which acts as a natural immune booster.
So it's like giving your chickens a daily wellness shot.
Exactly. It's all about supporting their overall health.
I love that. And speaking of supporting their health, there was this whole section on grit.
Ah, yes, the grit.
That was fascinating.
It's often overlooked.
Yeah, I had no idea how important those little pebbles are for a chicken's digestive system.
You know, chickens don't have teeth.
Right.
So they need grit in their gizzards to grind up their food.
Oh, I see.
And the video talked about how the Amish specifically choose insoluble grit.
Insoluble grit.
Yeah, it stays in the gizzard longer and aids in better nutrient absorption.
Wow. So it's not just any old grit.
It's about maximizing the benefit of the food they eat.
It makes sense when you think about it.
It's all connected.
So from what we've covered so far, it seems like the Amish really pay attention to detail when it comes to their chickens.
They do. It's not just about throwing some feed in a bowl. It's about understanding the whole digestive process.
Right, and optimizing it for maximum egg production.
Exactly. They're very intentional about every aspect of their chicken care.
And that's probably why they're so successful.
It's definitely a big part of it.
They've figured out how to work with nature to get the results they want.
That's a great way to put it.
And they're not stopping there.
Oh, no.
The video also talked about how they use strategic treats to further encourage laying.
This is where things get really interesting.
And if you want to learn more about how to keep your flock happy and productive all year round, don't forget to like and subscribe to the Thrifty Tips Podcast. We've got plenty more egg-setting tips coming your way.
We do, so stay tuned.
So when I think of chicken treats, I picture things like cracked corn
Right.
or mealworms.
The classics.
But the Amish go way beyond that.
They do. They use treats that are both enjoyable for the hens and serve a specific purpose.
Give me an example.
Well, for instance, they give them leafy greens,
Okay.
like kale spinach and lettuce.
So it's like a salad bar for chickens.
Pretty much. It's packed with nutrients, and the hens love it.
That's fantastic.
They also give them fruits,
Okay.
like apples and berries.
Especially in the summer, I bet.
You got it. for extra hydration and a sweet treat.
It's like they're running a 5-star chicken spot.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's all about keeping those hens happy and healthy.
And what about this pumpkin thing I heard about?
Ah, yes, the pumpkin.
That blew my mind.
It's a surprising one.
So the Amish use pumpkin.
As a natural dewormer for their chickens.
Pumpkin. That's amazing.
It is. It's a perfect example of how they use natural, readily available resources to address common chicken care challenges.
So it's a tasty treat, and it helps keep those pesky parasites away.
Exactly, a win-win.
That's brilliant, but I'm guessing there's a catch.
Well, there is one thing to keep in mind.
Okay.
The video stressed the importance of moderation when it comes to treats.
Oh,
You don't want your hens filling up on goodies and ignoring their regular feed,
makes sense.
which provides the balanced nutrition they need for optimal egg production.
It's all about balance, isn't it?
Always.
Finding that sweet spot between spoiling your chickens and making sure they're getting what they need.
Exactly.
Now, I'm curious about this molting thing.
Ah, yes, the feathered fashion show.
We'll have to dive into that after a quick break.
Sounds good. Molting. It's that time of year when our lovely ladies decide to ditch their feather fashion and go for a whole new look. But as glamorous as it sounds, it comes with a temporary pause in egg production, which can be a bit frustrating for us chicken keepers.
Yeah, it's like their body's just saying, hold the omelets, we've got a major makeover happening here.
Exactly. They're putting all their energy into growing those new feathers, so egg laying takes a backseat.
But the Amish ever grow. The resourceful folks have a few tricks up their sleeves to manage this molting period.
They do, and it all comes back to that focus on nutrition.
So what's their secret?
Well, the video showed how they increased the protein in the hen's diet during molting
Okay.
to help speed up feather growth.
Interesting.
They'll offer treats like those protein-packed mealworms and black soldier fly larvae we talked about earlier.
Right, those are like chicken superfoods.
Exactly, and they're not afraid to get creative using things they have on hand like extra greens from the garden, vegetable scraps, or even leftover dairy products.
It's a great reminder that we can often find what our chickens need right in our own kitchens.
Absolutely. It's all about being resourceful and observant.
Speaking of observant, I was fascinated by this idea of staggering molting times.
Ah, yes, that's a clever trick.
How do they even do that?
Well, they manage their flock in a way that prevents all the hens from molting at the same time.
Okay.
This might involve introducing new hens gradually or adjusting their living conditions slightly.
So while some hens are rocking their new plumage, others are still busy laying those delicious eggs.
Precisely. It's like having a built-in system for continuous egg production.
That's genius. I mean, it ensures a steady supply of fresh eggs throughout the year.
Which is what we all want, right?
Absolutely a win for both the farmers and their egg-loving customers. Okay, I have to admit, I'm starting to get a little chicken envy right now.
I hear you. These Amish farmers really seem to have cracked the code.
They have. And speaking of cracking the code, don't forget to like and subscribe if you're enjoying these excellent insights.
We've got plenty more to share, so stay tuned.
So we've talked about diet, we've talked about molting, but there's another key aspect of Amish chicken care that I think is really important.
What's that?
Creating a stress-free environment for the hens.
Absolutely. That's crucial for happy, productive chickens.
It makes perfect sense. If I were constantly feeling stressed or anxious, the last thing on my mind would be creating anything, let alone eggs.
Exactly. And the video showed how the Amish prioritize a peaceful environment for their flocks.
Like how?
They minimize noise and overcrowding in the coop,
Okay.
provide ample space for the chickens to roam, and ensure comfortable nesting boxes to reduce competition and stress.
It's like they're creating a chicken sanctuary, a place where the hens can truly relax and do their thing.
And you know what they say? Happy hens lay more eggs.
It's true. I've noticed that with my own flock, when they're content, they lay more.
In fact, the video cited a study that showed happy chickens can produce up to 30% more eggs than their stressed-out counterparts.
Wow, that's significant.
It is. So creating a calm and inviting coop environment is clearly key to maximizing egg production.
And it goes hand in hand with another important aspect of Amish chicken care, cleanliness.
Absolutely. The video highlighted how meticulous the Amish are about keeping their coops clean.
They must be.
They regularly clean and refresh the bedding to prevent the buildup of bacteria, parasites, and other nasties that can impact the health of the flock.
It's like our own homes. We wouldn't want to live in a dirty, cluttered space.
And neither do chickens.
A clean coop is a healthy coop, which leads to healthier hens and ultimately more eggs.
And don't forget about winter care.
Ah, yes, winter.
The video showed how the Amish provide warm bedding and insulation to help their hens conserve energy during those cold months.
That's like giving them a cozy winter retreat.
And by keeping them warm, they don't have to waste precious energy trying to stay comfortable, which means more energy for egg production.
Exactly. And some Amish farmers even use supplemental light during the winter
Really?
to mimic longer daylight hours.
It's like tricking their internal clocks into thinking it's still summer. Pretty much, it's all about working with the chickens' natural rhythms while providing the support they need to thrive year-round.
I'm really struck by the fact that it's not about forcing the chickens to lay eggs. It's about creating the optimal conditions for them to naturally do what they do best.
That's a great observation. It's a more respectful, sustainable approach, and it clearly yields impressive results.
And speaking of impressive results, don't forget to like and subscribe if you're enjoying our deep dive into the world of Amish chicken wisdom. We've got more exciting insights coming your way.
We do.
Now, there's one final piece of this puzzle that we haven't touched on yet. Flock rotation.
Ah, yes, that's a crucial part of their system.
And we'll be back after a quick break to discuss it in detail.
Sounds good. I'm looking forward to it.
So we've talked about diet, environment, and even those feathered fashion shows we call molting.
Right.
But there's this one last piece of the Amish chicken keeping puzzle that I'm really curious about. Flock rotation.
Yeah, it's a fascinating aspect of their system, and it really speaks to their practicality and deep understanding of the chicken life cycle.
So tell me more about it.
Well, the video pointed out that while hens can be prolific layers, for a few years, their egg production naturally declines after a while.
Yeah, it makes sense.
It's like any athlete, you have your peak performance years, and then things start to slow down a bit.
Exactly. So what do the Amish do?
They rotate their flock, bringing in new hens as the older ones begin to lay fewer eggs.
So it's a way to ensure a consistent supply of fresh eggs, without relying solely on hens that might be past their prime laying years.
Exactly.
But what happens to those older hens?
Well, the Amish definitely believe in making the most of their resources. Those older hens, while maybe not laying as many eggs, still have value.
Right.
The video mentioned using them for meat, particularly for making delicious stews.
I see. So nothing goes to waste.
Not at all.
It's a very practical approach.
It is, and it also helps maintain the overall health and vitality of the flock. By gradually introducing new hens, the Amish prevent overcrowding and competition for resources, which can lead to stress and disease.
That makes sense.
Plus, it allows them to maintain a mix of ages within the flock, ensuring that there are always hens in their peak laying years.
It's like a sustainable system that benefits both the farmer and the chickens.
Exactly.
It's amazing how much thought and care they put into every aspect of their chicken keeping.
It really is inspiring.
This entire deep dive has been so eye-opening.
I agree.
It makes you wonder if we could all benefit from adopting a little bit of that Amish wisdom in our own lives,
I think we could.
even if we don't have a flock of chickens roaming around our backyards.
Absolutely.
If you're as fascinated by these Amish chicken keeping techniques as we are, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the Thirsty Tips podcast for more insightful explorations like this one. So what stood out to you as the most surprising or intriguing insight from this deep dive?
For me, it was their emphasis on minimizing stress for the hens. It's a reminder that even animals thrive when they feel safe, comfortable, and respected.
Absolutely.
And perhaps by adopting some of these simple yet effective strategies, we can all create a more sustainable and harmonious relationship with the animals in our care.
Well, I think we've successfully cracked the code on Amish chicken keeping. By taking inspiration from their time-tested methods, you too can create a thriving flock and enjoy those delicious farm-fresh eggs year-round. Remember, it's about observation, respect, and working with nature. Could thinking like an Amish farmer lead to a more rewarding and sustainable experience for both you and your flock? That's something to ponder as you head out to your coop today. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the world of Amish chicken wisdom. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the Thrifty Tips podcast for more fascinating insights like these.